We are live. There we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another fine episode of Vagabond Dog Industry Chats. This week, we've got my good friend Marcelle. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I don't think I've had such a good introduction before.
We're gonna keep that introduction rolling then. Marcelle is a very talented visual artist. You have worked on games like GORN and Genital Jousting and others. What I like about your work is the incredible sense of stylist. You bring a sense of style to it, right? I've run into so many 3D artists who go for photorealism every time, and I don't know if this is just a product of you or a product of the projects you've worked on, but you deliver a sense of style, a uniform sense of style across the whole project, rather than just going for, hey, let's make this as hyper realistic as we possibly can, and then ending up somewhere short. That's what I've always liked about your work. Plus, I like the games that you've worked on, so that also helps. But yes,
I think it's mostly the games I've worked on.
Sure, we'll give him plenty of credit, but
Cool.
yeah, you work for a studio called Free Lives in South Africa. You guys have made plenty of really rad games over the years. Most of the audience is probably familiar, but I guess we first met on Game Jam Island. Was that?
Yeah,
must have been it. That was like,
yeah, it definitely was. I remember the first time we met. It was definitely at Game Jam Island, Mauritius. Yeah,
that was a good time.
yeah,
Yeah, that was so we all went out to this island called Mauritius, very beautiful place. Theoretically to make games and work on things. I think there was a grand total of one actual game that got completed on site.
Well,
Frog
which one?
Smashers got finished. Did anything else get actually I know you were working on jousting art at the time.
No. So my first day in Mauritius on the Game Jam Island was my first day of work at Free Lives. And they had an early access deadline for Genital Jousting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, damn technical difficulty. Yes, sorry. I was saying there was, as far as I remember, we had one successful game released on Game Jam Island, and that was Frog Smashers, and you were correcting me.
I was just saying, my first day of work was in Mauritius. My first day in Mauritius, my first day on the job. And they had a Genital Jousting deadline for early access, which was due in 2 months. So I was thrown, in the deep end with that. We knocked that out the park, and then we went straight from that. They had another deadline. And Free Lives is known for never having deadlines. So this is pretty unusual. They had a Humble Bumble deal.
Your Gym Brawl.
Your Gym Brawl, yeah. And we had 2 weeks on that. So
right,
it was pretty tight because we were only there for 3 months. But it was a really good introduction to the company.
How much?
They were really great. They were great projects to work on at the time. I was like hyped. I'm in a tropical paradise and I'm getting to work on like super cool projects. So it was rad. I got to meet you.
That's just true cherries. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you know that you were going to Game Jam Island before you got hired?
No, I didn't even know who the hell Free Lives was. A friend just sent me a posting that they were looking for like a new artist / animator. And I was like, who the hell are these people? I was like, I never heard of them. So I Googled it and I was like, damn, okay, cool. Let me see what these people are about. And I went for one interview, and then they invited me to like a huge house party. And in that crazy house party, they were like, yeah, we're taking you to Mauritius for 3 months and you're hired. And I was like, what? Okay, this is good in Mauritius. So I had no idea who Free Lives was, and I was completely unaware of like what they had achieved, and it was kind of all just a big crazy surprise to me. So like to be starting the job in like a tropical paradise was also just like totally just bizarre, really. I mean, amazing but bizarre.
Right. And how has the job and the work fared since leaving Game Jam Island? What the honeymoon phase? I mean, clearly you've been there for God, it must be five years now.
Over 5 years, yeah.
How's it been? I'll be like, what?
It's been to be honest, it's been like amazing. It's been like I've had like really like rough times, and between projects and like in projects you always have like your teething problems. But I've been like really lucky as well, because like the people I've gotten to work with, like they've been fucking cool. I don't know if this PG, sorry, I'm not
It's fine.
allowed to swear, but I've learned from everybody I've been around.
Hmm.
And I can say that honestly, like Ruben very well, and I
Yep.
mean, like I've learned so much from him, and being able to work with him has been just so rad. He's besides a good friend, he's like I like working with him, which is
Hmm.
unusual, and something to be special to be like cherished, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it's been good. It's been tough. Like we worked on GORN. That was like a big learning curve. Like I'd never worked in VR before, so like that was a huge learning curve, I guess. It's one thing to put a VR headset on and like kind of play a game, but
Hmm.
being an animator slash artist, you now need to kind of like adapt to what the restrictions are. You need
Right.
to, and you need to capitalize on those actually. So there's a bit of like adaptation that takes place. So it's been good. I think like the difficult thing with free lives is sometimes you know uh, it can just, I mean, it's like any game, working on any game is heavy. Like that's basically what it is. It's not really anything a product of the company. It's just like a product of what we're making, and it has to be hard, because if it wasn't hard, everybody would be doing it. So it's been rad, I guess, to answer your question. It's been awesome in a sense that it's made me evolve, and it's made me better. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Um,
if that answers your
no, no,
question.
no, totally. As I mean, as part of that evolution, I mean, I'm curious to know from a visual artist perspective, what were the biggest stumbling blocks going into VR?
Okay. I guess I would say the restrictions, right? You've got to
Hmm.
work with your restrictions. You've got to work with basically space. You've got to work with the space around you. And that coincides with how things need to be laid out in terms of depth. Focusing too far on something in the background that nobody sees is kind of a waste of time. Focusing on things that make things more legible to the player is far more important than making something that's beautiful in the background.
Right.
So I think, to answer your question, it made me realize the importance of using art to support the game mechanics, as opposed to making rad mechanics and making a beautiful game. So enhancing visual language,
Right.
so that you know players have a natural intuition into how things work.
Hmm. Like one of the big things that I know is really crucial to Gorn and its design is the diegetic controls. Right.
Exactly.
You don't have any pop-up menus with OK buttons and laser sights and that kind of thing. Can you talk to us a bit about like the decision and the design path for making all of the very physical mechanics that go into controlling the game outside of the actual combat?
Yeah, for sure. And one of the ones I want to get to, one of the parts I want to get to about it goes to our little getaway in Azefontaine when we
Hmm.
came up
Yep.
with the whole elevator system. So yeah,
All
so
right.
basically VR is about immersion, right? Like the whole idea is to like be immersed, to be in another world. And I mean, that is what I think Gorn does really well. There's no level, there's no, you know, whole lot of text and dialogue and narrative you have to get through. If you don't want it, you can just get in the game in 2 minutes or 2 seconds, play for 10 minutes and walk out and feel like you've done
Hmm.
what you needed to do. That you're not trying to like play this never ending open world game or whatever the case is. Like you're getting instant satisfaction every time you play. So slowing that down with having like some controller that you have to push and have like a menu that opens display, that kind of goes against the core of what I think Gorn is, which is violence and fighting and being a barbarian and being immersed and literally having these big characters walk up to you and slaying them. And you know very well, people break their toes, their TVs, their fish tanks, like, I don't know, everything else, because they're at the time getting so wrapped up in where they are, they don't realize, and the next thing they're just hitting wherever they are and breaking things. So to interrupt that with menus and, even the teleporting kind of mechanic, that kind of breaks things, right? Like, if you have to have the walking mechanic, and I don't want to stray into the whole like movement system, but if you do have to do that, like, you're not ducking and swooshing and moving and sidestepping, all the things that I think like make you feel awesome when you play GORN. It's about the moves and the follow through. Once you kind of like cut the guy's head or arm off, you got that follow through and that power moment. You're not kind of like, oh, he's coming for me, I'm kind of teleporting behind him, or wait, I'm going to get my menu up and select the right kind of weapon. You've got to have that right weapon in your hand. And I think that's something that like really makes the immersion really cool about GORN.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to the Ace Fontaine side of things, which probably no one that ever watches this will know, is a small town outside of Cape Town that we went to when you were down, and we did a whole lot of brainstorming there. We were like getting to a point where we were ready for like launch, and we had to figure out like, how do we kind of deal with the, I guess you can say, options and the level select and the general meta game. Like, how do we kind of like do this?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have people like crawling through a level. We kind of need to make some kind of diegetic system that again removes the need for like pop-up menus and so on. So again, using the fundamentals of VR, using the lever, you're pulling something, meaning you're in control. Using the space around you makes sense to kind of have some kind of like area around that you'd walk up to and you'd push the stone. So instead of having like a little and select, you now walk up to the particular stone and you push it. That way, feeling like you're not just selecting a level, you're actually, you're still interacting with the game. Having the levels unlock above you as you go, you're still feeling that sense of progression. So those were the ways we were kind of like looking at how to kind of, make the player feel like there's some kind of progression without having any kind of pop-up, boom, level
Right.
2 unlocked, or whatever the case is.
And still giving them access to all the different elements of the game, the level select kind of stuff, and then the custom game options and visual settings and all these other different details down in the basement. I'm curious, was there any one aspect of that meta options control that you guys or you found particularly difficult to implement, or did you find that like implementing a lot of these options, did it ever conflict with your sense of visual style that you were applying to the game?
It was kind of tough because I think like what we were doing in tandem was like figuring out the visual style at the same time of figuring out the mechanics. So like we were very much at the same time figuring out the mechanics, like sitting together and like scribbling, oh, it could work like this, So it was kind of working in tandem. It wasn't like, oh, it has to work like this. How do we kind of like force the visuals to coincide? It was more like, okay, well, it needs to work like this. So how can we make the visuals enhance this? How can we make the visuals make this work better? I guess I hope that makes sense.
Well, that process is something that I've noticed is really only possible with small teams, right?
Big time.
Like, because I think it's like what 5-6 people total ever who've really worked it on the game, and never that many at a time. So it's one of those things where that collaborative process where you're deciding the mechanics, the aesthetics, and like the intention all at the same time. You can't have that happen when you have more people. Considering that, is there anything that you like, if you had done GORN with like 100 people, obviously it wouldn't be the same game, but is there anything that you guys think that the small team you had to sacrifice in terms of the production, or anything that a bigger team would have got, or is it, or do you just firmly believe that smaller team is always better?
Okay, I'm gonna give you like a really weird answer. Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
I feel like if we had a bigger team, the job would have been a lot harder. The game would have been a lot harder to have made. The difference being, if you have a big team, things have to be distinguished a lot firmer. If you've got a bunch of people to delegate to, if you've got a team of artists, those people every day, they need to be assigned work. And you can't expect 100 people to have the full scope of the game. So with us, it was mainly for most of the time, Ruan, myself, and Luke. And what I think the luxury is there is communication can be, hey, Luke, do this. Hey, Ruan, how do you want this? And Luke's still listening. Like we're all in the same room, but it's almost like playing music. Like we're just getting a sense of the feeling. We're not writing the music yet. We're kind of just going with it and feeling things out, and the music's getting made. And if we had a bigger team or a bigger orchestra, we'd have to write that music out
Right.
to give to the orchestra to play, which would be a far more enormous job as opposed to just feeling things and being able to work loosely and communicate easily and iterate faster on things and prototype faster and not have to like commit to like, okay, let's do concept sketching for this creature and then get into modeling and get into rigging and animation and eventually get it in. Oh no, we need changes. Let's go all the way back because we missed this design flaw. We were able to work a lot faster. We are able to communicate a lot easier. So that just made making the game a lot more fun, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't tied down with having to like delegate and oversight things and make sure everything's just working harmoniously because making games isn't like digging a hole. You can't just be like, okay, we need to make this hole bigger faster, let's throw more people at it. You can't do that with anything creative like games. That just doesn't work. If you're going to have that approach, I don't think it's going to end very well. And if it is, you're going to need to really invest in the oversight. It's like anything, more people means more management. And I think like we're not into management, we're into making games.
Right. Um,
Sorry.
no, you mentioned your I guess workflow between you, Luke, and Ruan. I'm curious because it was you and Luke were doing all of the art together. What was it like having to build that relationship and having that chemistry with Luke um, through the process?
Damn, you asking the hard hitting questions. I'll be honest because I think you'll appreciate the honest truth. At first, it was difficult because uh, he's a bit younger than me, and he's a solid illustrator. I came in with a lot of animation and 3D background and in general art. So I think we landed up making a really good team. At first, we were kind of butting heads a bit because like he was coming in hot, and it's often overlooked. Like nothing against him. It's just like sometimes people think like, oh, the person who draws the best at the time is like he must be the best artist. But when you're dealing with like 3D and VR and programming and rigging and stuff, like it's a whole nother ball game. So Luke did an insane job. Like he contributed a massive amount to the project. I'm taking nothing away from him. I'm just like telling you how it is. At first, it was very difficult between us, but eventually we got into like a pretty damn good relationship and things just flowed. And like people shouldn't hide that. I feel like whenever you see like a making of or behind the scenes or interview, everybody's talking, oh, it's all good. That's not like things were bad. It's just how it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
and rightly so. At the end of the day, I think like we made such a great team. And we had to have those ingredients because if things are just like cool and calm and perfect all the time, like how boring. Like we had a really good camaraderie at the end of it. And I think like to me, that's what making games is about. Like looking back and having those moments of like good times, great times, bad times, hard times, pushing times, crunch times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it was good. I don't know. That's at least my feelings towards it all.
I'll have to get Luke on the show and get him to to counter
Okay.
for it.
We
Um,
still see each other every day, and it's all good. Yeah, we have a really good relationship, I think. Yeah.
this is actually a topic that we rarely touch on the show because I mean so few people are willing to talk about professional relationships so candidly. But like
Yeah.
when you have a professional conflict. You have nothing against the person or whatever. It's just it's
Hell
purely
no.
purely professional, ideological, whatever for the game. Disagreements. What was your guys' process for working through that? Um, because at the, as you said, at the end of the project, and I've seen it firsthand. I know both of you guys fairly well.
Yeah.
You guys make a fantastic team by the end.
Yeah.
So what was the process working through your creative disagreements in a way that
I,
you led to such a strong duo or
cool.
trio?
I think this is actually a pretty simple answer. I think it's being able to give the person enough room to like make their own mistakes, but also learn. And that's for me too. I learned a bunch of Luke. Like he's an he's an he's an incredible artist. I mean, he's doing some crazy stuff right now. I don't know if you've seen the Angerfoot game that they
Yep,
put out
yep,
on Itch.
love that.
Dude, he's taking care of all of that art by himself. He's insane. So like basically we learned from each other. I think that we gave each other enough room to kind of be creative and have our own space. But when the time came, like we worked together, and I think that that's the most important thing. And yeah, man, I don't know. Just like you kind of got to realize that at the start of any project, like relationships are starting. It's the beginning of something. Eventually, by the end of the game, the relationship's completely different. So yeah, I think like we both just learned a lot from each other in completely different realms. You know, so that was cool.
I'm glad to hear. I mean, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people are not really well prepared for when they start to work. Like if you're a solo indie and you've never worked with other people, you can either enter and be completely abrasive, or you can never really voice your opinion, and then that's just as frustrating. It's good to like recognize that um, these creative relationships are a strong back and forth,
Yeah,
and it's part of the growth process.
yeah.
Um, is there anything that you would suggest to people who are start there? We have a lot of people who watch the show who are just like sort of starting their game development career. Is there anything you have to suggest to people in terms of like managing creative relationships?
Trying to think. Really, I'm just trying to think about this.
Try get the good gold.
Yeah, I think it's just to be aware that like creatives are usually like pretty like passionate
Mm.
people. So just be like mindful of that, and also just like don't be afraid to have a conversation. Having a conversation and is far better than like letting something build up and fester that really shouldn't.
Mm.
Like people are usually so afraid of having like an open, frank conversation. And it doesn't have to be hostile. You just have to just be open about it, especially creatively. And I just think that's what it's about. Like just have respect, and give respect, and show respect, like how you want like respect to be given back to you. But like, don't be afraid of having a frank conversation, but try and be mindful of like where the other person's coming from too. There's always like multiple sides to the story. So like you can't be ignorant and just be like, you're definitely right. You always have to be checking yourself, no matter what like position you're in. You gotta always just realize you're a human, which is by design flawed.
Right.
Sorry, long-winded answer. Sorry.
No, it's good. I mean, do you think that like ego management is as important as talent in the art in the
Yeah,
creative field?
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's such a tough thing to deal with because I think like often we get confused between passion and ego, and that those are two very different things. We have to check them. I think a lot of artists attach themselves to their work, and they think that when their work is getting critiqued or when they're getting feedback, that's like it's a personal knock. It's like an actual
Mm.
like you like it's something against their character. Like, and I think like you need to realize like that is just you gotta not have that mindset. Not because it's bad for the project, but because it's bad for you as a person. Like that just is like the worst. That must have the worst psychological effects. And I'm not saying it in like a criticizing way. I'm saying because I've been through this. And I think I still go through it, and I think that a lot of artists can resonate with that in some way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you still how much of the ego attack do you have when people criticize your work?
I think being aware of it has made me a lot better. And it's not to say that I've ever been like this, but I think that like something freelance has really taught me is like, be be open about like your work and get the feedback as opposed to like completely
Hmm.
isolate the world and everybody else from it. And then you're just looking at something too closely and you're not looking at things that somebody from another perspective would see. Like they have a very like open development policy, which when I first joined, I was like, why are these guys showing the world all their magic?
Right.
And then I realized, yeah, they're showing the world their magic because they want to make like better magic.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, like we should not be afraid of critique or feedback because like it's not gonna offer us no character. It just makes what we're doing better and more awesome.
That's one of the
Yeah.
things I think that I also picked up with my brief time hanging out with y'all was like I've always from the start of my career it has been it within the myth of the auteur or whatever, and it's like I build this box, this game in this box, completely shrouded, and then I release it, and then everybody thinks it's great or not, right?
Yeah.
And working with y'all, the open early access process, the insane Discord feedback process, the just general, within the office itself process of batting around work and ideas and these kinds of things, brought me to a space of being more open with
Cool.
my production, and it's probably a significant reason why I now live stream all of my development. Maybe I've gone too far on the other end, but
I think you got to do it.
yeah, it's I think like you're saying why show all the magic, because if you are truly magic then you've always got more, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like you can just sit with this one little spell and pray it works forever. No, you got to actually like be magic and be able to keep
Yeah.
throwing shit out.
But it also ties in with like checking your ego, right? Like you can't be so in such. I mean, maybe some people are. It's just me, I guess. But like to be so like in such confidence where you're like, I've got this, like all by myself. That's scary too. That's a lot of pressure to put on
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And I'll say this, like, when were working on, when we were first like pushing for early access on GORN, like I can understand it. Like at the time, I was like, Ruan, why are you sharing these like these experimental builds with people? Like you're showing them what we're working towards for like an update or for early access. Why are you showing them before it's time for them to like actually get it from us? And he was like, well, I'm giving it to them because they're passionate about the game. They're so passionate that they're giving feedback to us about our own game, reporting bugs, essentially making our game better for us for free just
Right.
because they're hyped on our game. And like, besides making the game better, you get so burnt out like working on a game sometimes, like pushing for a deadline, just like grinding to a certain point, like having that like encouragement of people posting gifs of like either really funny bugs, which was always my favorite, like just characters bugging out, or really cool kills, or just them having a great time. Like I don't think even they realize how much motivation that can be.
Right.
Like that's fuel. That's really fuel. Watching people enjoy something you make, even if it's broken, like that's really fucking cool, man. So like the early development process, not just about like checking yourself and getting feedback. It's like making your game better, and also like getting that like feel to keep pushing, and the world to like want to make things better because like the community's literally asking for it. That's a pretty cool thing, I think.
Now,
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And I've started trying to get more into this, but and maybe this is the ego problem, but one thing that is plaguing me about the open process is this like perpetual fear that like all of my good ideas will be taken by somebody more talented,
Yeah. Hey,
right?
but that's out there, right? That's happening in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it is. So I mean, that's something that like was my biggest fear when I kind of first started Free Lives. And I mean, it's still something I deal with now. Meaning, at the end of the day, somebody could come and just steal your idea. it is a worry, but at the end of the day, like, I just feel like if you have a solid enough idea and somebody wants to steal it from you, like how good can they possibly rip it off? Like how what kind of a bootleg job can they do? Because like they don't have the raw energy, and like projects aren't just an idea, right? You don't just have an idea and then boom, let's throw 3 years
Right.
of development, X amount of dollars. Even if you have an idea, I can promise you, like as that dev goes down, like as the production goes on, there's going to need to be ideas thrown out. There's going to be solutions. There's going to be twists and turns and creative decisions and game mechanic decisions. So it's like, I don't know, like, I think it's something definitely to be cautious of. I definitely have zero idea about like what's right or wrong, but I think like if people are going to go and steal ideas, like, go ahead, do it, steal the ideas. Like you don't actually have the raw like energy of where the idea came from. So,
Mm.
I'm sure there's assholes out there that have done this and made millions of dollars and screwed people over. But I like to believe that like if people are gonna steal ideas, they're probably like shit people anyway that can't come up with their own ideas. So if they can't do that, how can they possibly make something out of it?
So
I don't
then,
know.
so what I'm hearing then is you feel comfortable with it because of the strength of your own talent, right?
Oh, jeez, that sounds hectic.
Well,
I don't
I mean,
know.
if we're gonna talk about ego, then is this the power of ego? Like, is this what it gives you?
No, I don't know because I'm probably still. I'm like I'm not a I'm not I'm so recluse on social media that I feel like I'm so ignorant at actually having an opinion on it. But I don't think it's from ego. I think it's more just like, you know, I don't really have a lot of respect for people that prey on artists or creatives in general. So stealing ideas and stuff, I think it's more just like the vindictive asshole in me that's like, cool, if you're gonna steal ideas, you're probably a shit person and a shit creative. Probably not going to be able to make anything cool. Even if you have that idea, you'll do a bad job. So I don't know. I don't know if it's ego or just like an angry man.
Spite. No, I get you. I feel it. I definitely feel it because I mean, like, man, you and I both know. Everybody who's tried to make a game knows it takes a tremendous amount of willpower and just like drive to get it done, even if it's a
Yeah.
small project. And you know,
What is a small project?
right?
Yeah.
Um, like how far can you get? You know, I mean, well, but that's the thing. That's the thing. See, this is where I'm gonna try and like throw it out.
Oh gosh.
There are way more people who go to their 9 to 5 and do what their boss tells them than there are people willing to struggle through the independent creativity, right? Those many people would have they power through the struggle of finishing the job without any creative impulse whatsoever or any need to get through it. And so that's why I still am fucking afraid of people stealing my ideas, even though I'm
Yeah.
now like naked to the world. um so is it I mean the answer I'm coming to is, do I just have to be the best at what I want to do in order to be the one to do it? Please give me guidance, thank you.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Because I think that like I feel like I don't have the answer, but what I have seen is two completely different sides of dev. So one being GORN, which was like completely open, and the other thing being the other VR project I worked with that I showed you a while back that I was working with that other chap, like that that was like completely like this, and you know I don't have the right answer. I don't have any answer, but I know that like the project I was working on that was like this, not just because it like bombed or whatever, but like that wasn't a fun experience. Like bottom line, I just did not enjoy that. Like I felt so much pressure. I felt I just yeah, I feel like it just wasn't an entertaining thing. So like regardless of like knowing what the right path is, like at least for me, I know which route I had the most fun on. And funny enough, that was like the more successful route, really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it comes down to like how you feel And I think definitely you have to be super aware of like protecting your creative property and your creative IP is like so important nowadays. I think like you do have to be careful of it. I just think it's not about being you have to be the best at it, but like you do have to have some belief in yourself. Like you do have to have some form of like, let's even say arrogance, you know. And if that translates to confidence, so be it. But I think that like there isn't a single answer to like one case. It's all very much about like what the topic is, because I've seen like the silliest games, right? Like the 2-button game,
Mhm.
and it's had like the most insane NDAs, and no one's allowed to talk about it. But if I tell you that the idea is the dumbest idea ever, and you could go and make it, in one weekend. So
Right.
like, there are times when it does matter, and then there are times when like it doesn't. Like, man, I don't really know, dude. It's such a confusing game.
Mhm.
There's so many different levels and tiers. I like, someone needs to write some kind of like manual or textbook for it all.
Right. Yeah. And then it needs errata every 2 years for how the
Oh,
industry moves
dude.
and shifts. The
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean, I'm gonna try and continue to embrace the goodliness of openness, right?
Mm.
Without the fear of being foolish in the process. It's a process that it makes you feel foolish when you start it. You're like, here, I'm just giving, here you go, world, la 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 la, all this time and effort, and
Yeah,
it's all free for everybody. But I I have seen the positivity that's come from it, and it's something that I'm trying to embrace more. So
cool.
I will keep on that road. Thank you for giving me that.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask. I was like, "How are you finding it all?" Because you seem to be like, you seem to be right in it all. I should be asking you the questions.
Right. It's fun. It's fun. I'm having more fun with it. I'm feeling less burdened, less like it's all on my shoulders all the time.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I've started caring less, which is weird because I'm more
yeah,
visible now than ever before, right? Like I never would have made if you had talked to me in the period between when we first met. If you
yeah,
had talked to me when we first met, I would never have made a game like Karen Outrage Simulator in a million fucking years. But then I don't know, something just happened where I just stopped giving a shit and like I just wanted to have fun and it like worked.
yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, my fans did not initially react well to it. They were like,
Really?
"Oh yeah, man, yeah, yeah." When we shipped Karen, they were like, "This from the people who made Always Sometimes Monsters," and I'm like, "Yeah, what do you want? Not everything's serious." And they're like, "It took them a while. They finally came around to it, but they didn't. They were not like ready for that." Um, and maybe I'm carrying a little too little now, but like I don't know, like I'm just still finding the balance in it. I highly appreciate the community we've developed from the openness. I incredibly value the feedback I get constantly and the camaraderie that's come with it. That's just as important as the statistical value. The more important. Um, I enjoy the process. I as much as I had a hard time envisioning ever getting here, I have a hard time now envisioning leaving it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, you've been on a journey, dude.
We're all on a journey, man. It just goes. It just goes. It never stops.
Damn, so true.
Um, yes. Let's rewind then and talk about the
Okay.
start of your journey. What got you
Oh,
into
man.
into what got you into the 3D modeling?
Oh, wow. No, man. Well, I've always been into art. I painted and like always did a lot of sketching and drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always like the school star or the high school star, art dude or whatever you call it. Um, but I didn't know what I was gonna do when I was finishing. I don't know. We call that high school. I don't know what you guys call it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, same. Oh, okay. Yeah, when I finished high school, I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I was working part time at a surf shop. I was like, fuck, man, I'm just gonna take a year off and surf. My mom was like, hell no, you're gonna study. And I was like, but I don't know what, because like we're in the tip of Africa. I never thought like doing something as cool as like 3D or animation or art or illustration could even be possible. And there was literally a little news article in the newspaper the day I got home from school one day, and she was like, "We're going to this open day." And I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. She's like, you go. And I went and I saw their like showreel, like, and I was like, yeah, arrogance, ego, I don't know. I was just like, damn, I've always loved games and I've always loved animation, animated movies, and so on. And when I saw this, I was like, this stuff doesn't look that good. I mean, it looked cool. I was mind blown that people were doing it, but I was like, damn, I know I can do better, you know. So I went to this college. It was like the only like college or whatever, like secondary, tertiary
Mm-hmm.
education in the country, and they did a 3 year like animation course in Maya and stuff. But they basically like broke down how, you know, stop frame animation works, how basically like just all the fundamentals, traditional animation, you know, some claymation, and then we got into like some serious 3D, some in-depth stuff, like some building out Maya rigs from the top down. And bearing in mind, this is quite a while ago, so it's not like all the like today, all these like automated riggers and all
Right.
that. Like we had to build everything from scratch, and it was like so much more of a process for everything. But yeah, after that, you know, before I even finished my third year, I got picked up at a VFX house called Black Ginger. And at the time, they were like one of the biggest. They were the biggest in the country, one of the only and biggest. And they did all like any animated like commercials, VFX, like set extensions to like adverts and films, some movies, but they were mostly doing like compositing in Nuke. But I lucked out because I landed up like sitting and working amongst some of like the biggest and best people in like the South African industry. So I learned so much from them. And then yeah, I don't know. After that, I was there for a while, and then I was like, I really want to illustrate. I love 3D, but I love illustration more. So I got a job at an illustration house called Amite Collective. Um, and then I went there, and for 6 months, I just illustrated, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love illustrating, but like now it's my job, and I don't enjoy it that much.
Right.
So I ended up doing like illustration and animation at the company I was at, and damn, yeah. From there, I went to like another little boutique animation company. So the company I was at previously, Black Ginger, like two of their main guys, they left. And when I was in like really good communication with them, I like worked on a couple of personal projects with them after hours, some music videos and stuff that they did for some of their friends of theirs that were like big bands in South Africa. Really cool work, and like they showed me the ropes. So, like I was really enthusiastic, and they were working on all these awesome side projects after their like day jobs, which is like working on different commercials and so on. And I'll just stay behind and offer to help out. So I was like, damn, this is incredible. I was like a kid in a candy store, like learning from these dudes, you know, like, and then like I just picked up, I had a natural like ability for animation. Um, so anyway, I had a good time with those guys, and they ended up calling me up and saying like they started their little boutique animation studio called like Lung Animation, and it was just the two of them, and they had this really like cool little office, like on the top of this like building in the waterfront, which is like our like CBD, and it was really cool. I was there for like 2.5 years, and we did all kinds of cool things, but it was just the three of us, and we had like a huge render farm. So like they taught me to become ridiculously versatile. We were doing like a bunch of different commercials a month, and it was so cool because it was like we'd like every day you'd go and like hang out. It wouldn't be like a job where you have to have a certain dress code.
Mm-hmm.
You just go and like there'd be a couch and a TV and like a kitchen and a shower, but like we all worked super hard. It just didn't feel like work. But anyway, what I'm getting at is like they taught me to be ridiculously versatile. I was doing like illustration, all the character design, like some of the concept, but then I was also doing like the 3D, the rendering, setting up like the render farms, and then also doing like the compositing in Nuke. So it was like a lot of responsibility, but it
Right.
was really, really, really cool. So that's pretty much how I really got into like the game. But that's like half the story. I feel like I've just ranted for 20
No,
minutes.
it's good. It's good. From that first time you saw that show reel and thought I could do better, how
Yeah.
long did it take you to actually be able to do better?
Wow. Now I'm giving you like insights into my life. So like when I first started, at the college, I wasn't that good. It wasn't that I wasn't that good. I was just like, I wasn't really putting it in. I wasn't putting in the time. I'd like go to class, I'd go surf, like hang out, go skateboarding, and then like kind of like rush my projects before like the deadline. And I'd still like do well, but not well enough. And in second year, I had this really cool lecturer, still in contact with him today. It's like immigrated to New Zealand. Really cool guy. I owe him so much. He pulled me aside one day and he was like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. What do you mean? He was like, you're messing around, dude. I can see you've got what it takes, but if you're not going to put in the time, like you're wasting your mom's money, being here. And I was like, like that hit home. I was like, damn, I'm letting not only my mom down, but myself down. And, I wasn't like the top student. I was like in the middle, and like we don't have a big industry here. So like, if you're not like top 3 or 5, like in the whole year, you're probably not going to get a job.
Right.
So, that was a bit of a wake up call. And from then I ended up going into 3 classes a day instead of 1. Like I would go from 8 in the morning all the way because I was like, nah, I'm going to be the best at this. And I worked my way up, and I was like one of the best students, and I got hired out of college earlier. But that was a key reminder to myself, which is like don't ever get complacent, don't ever get comfortable, and just always remember that like you have to keep pushing. Whenever you think like this is the job, like you have to try and push more. Like that was just it's a random thing, but like I don't know if I'll ever get like to a level where I'm like, oh, I'm the business now. I'm so good. But yeah, I like that really like traumatized me, and I was like, you know what, I'm letting myself down, I'm letting my mom down. I'm messing around. So like I don't know if I'll ever achieve it, but that was like the light. That was the light. And since that day, it's just been like I've been in this.
The that initial complacency is like a very familiar story. I think for myself and for a lot of people. I'm curious, having gone through it, where do you think that like lack of seriousness or whatever you want to call it comes from in young people? Or no, that God, I sound like such a boomer. But like, when you're starting out, why do we not take it so seriously immediately? Or do some people do hit it hard right out the gate, but where did it come from for you, I guess?
Yeah, shit, damn. Mine was kind of weird because like I grew up with like a single mom and like 2 younger brothers, and I had to like take care of them a lot. Like, damn, school holidays and stuff, like making dinners when mom's working late and stuff, like that typical, yeah, everybody's heard that story. And then like for me, when I got out and I was like out of school and out in college, I was like, freedom, like this is awesome. But like you have to very quickly like learn that like like there's some like hard rules to life, like
Right.
you can't just take your opportunities by granted. Not everybody has opportunities, and if you get opportunities, you really need to realize it. And should you want to, if you get that opportunity, you need to make it work. Getting an opportunity is one thing. Making it work is the hard part. So I think like everybody has their different like journeys to go through and so on, and like the different experiences and times to learn. But I think like we also can't be so hard on ourselves and be like, oh, you don't take it so serious when you're young. It's like people have so many different like upbringings and stuff. Like some people like, it's understandable to get distracted and stuff. I think that like the world we're living in now, like, dude, I'm so glad I didn't have to grow up in it. Like Instagram and Twitter and all that, like it's so confusing. Like even now, I'm traumatized by it all because I just keep thinking I'm gonna mess something up. So I don't know, man. I just think there's a lot of distractions out there. It's really hard to kind of also get motivated because like we're so surrounded with like social media and internet. So like it's so easy to go online and just see so much good art and just be like,
Right.
well, I'm shit. Like, why do I even need to waste my time? Look at all of these amazing people. Whereas before, like, we didn't have internet and stuff, so it was like you just love drawing, so you just draw a lot. There's so many more factors now to like be complacent because we're so overwhelmed with seeing things and being fed visuals and being like people are getting the social media game going where it's like it's so different now. It's like about how you like how you market yourself as opposed to like just being like really good. And like for me, like, and the people I've learned from and the people I've grown up around, like the real creators are usually the people that don't want to be out there being on social media and stuff. So it's like, it's just a weird world right now, dude. I don't really know if I have the answers. I just think it's like, yeah, I don't know. Rant complete.
I mean,
Sorry.
participatory or not, I mean, we're like, you know, I think you're so deep in the game now that it's for better or worse, it's impossible for you to change checks. I mean, like you're not getting out of 3D animation any day this
Oh,
millennium.
well, I mean, it's like it's everything, right? It's like, yeah, it's just so like everything creative. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's not. I don't know how to do anything else. Like, if my girlfriend will tell you, I can't hang out painting. I don't know how to do anything else. So this is my life. This is my whole life. Yeah.
Do you
I
think?
literally have never done anything else.
I mean, that's good. I mean, that's also why you're so damn good at it. Like,
I don't
let's
know
see.
about that.
The I mean, how do you? I mean, if somebody of your caliber still, I mean, you don't participate in social media, but you still see some of it, and you know you have that comparison factor where you know you suddenly feel you get that ego hit where it's like, oh god, they've got there's so much good quality work out there. What the hell am I doing? How do you what do you do to deal with that? And like, how do you think people should I guess tone themselves to weather it?
Yeah, like at the end of the day, looking at social media and seeing like some guy or lady or guy you're following, like with X amount of followers, you know, that guy's, you know, he's out there, he's on the internet, he's not here right now. Like, this is where it kind of counts. So, I mean, I just think I don't know. I don't think I don't think I have like the perspective to be able to give good advice on the matter. I think I'm extremely lucky with like my timings and where I've been. Like right time, right place has played a huge role because literally it's all just been like a little game of magical Tetris. So it's kind of difficult to be like giving advice because like I feel like I've been very lucky with like the opportunities
Mm-hmm.
I've had. But at the end of the day, it's not about. I think it's important to realize like it shouldn't be about like how many followers you have and how many likes you have. I think today it's becoming more and more important, and I think like probably one day you'll like part of being a creative in the gaming world will require you to have to be like more on like the social media platforms, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I just think like it's important to remember that like games are not always made with rock stars. They're made with people, and we're all people. So just try to remember that, and don't get too caught up into the social media thing. And I mean, the need to create is something that I think comes within, and I think like we're super fortunate right now, especially right now more than ever, to like have the technology we have right now. I hear so many people like getting freaked out by the technology we have right now, going, "Oh, it's becoming so easy, it's becoming so automated." I'm like, no, it just means we can do more. It means we can get more stuff done quicker. It means we have to worry about less
Right.
crap and be more creative. So yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, man. I don't really think that I think I've been really lucky. I think I live a very like humble life. So it's difficult to give advice. I think like if somebody's hungry, they just got to like have the right ingredients.
I feel like a lot of the people complaining about automation have never had to hand rig like 400 models for a scene or something. Like,
Dude, yeah, that is nailed it. Yeah, dude, it's like it's crazy. Like before, like instead of like rigging a character in a day, it would take a week. I mean, now I'm gonna start ranting. But like when I first started out, we didn't even have HD. It was a PAL, and everybody was bitching and moaning for a whole year, going, "Oh my gosh, next year we have to upgrade to 1080. What are we gonna do?" You know what happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. The technology just worked, and everything just works out. So like freaking out about tech and stuff, it's kind of silly. It's always going to be evolving, and as lame as it sounds, like John Lasseter, like I love what he says. Like the art's always pushing the technology, and the technology is always pushing the art. Like that to me, like that means a lot. Like that gets me excited when I hear that. You know.
Right. The only as we start to wind down, one thing I want to ask is I mean, if we're going to be pursuing this openness in creativity, right, and revealing ourselves and getting feedback, but then also not getting obsessed with the social media
Yeah.
side of things and like getting those follower counts or whatever. How do you propose we balance this?
Jeez, dude.
Because getting the eyeballs on the project is essential to getting the value out of the openness.
Yeah. I'm
Please
gonna
solve
be dead honest
please
with
solve
you.
paradox.
Oh man. Um, I'm I'm not equipped to answer that question. I feel like that's a yo. I really don't know how to answer that, man. I'm like I'm pretty lucky in the fact that like I got people around me that I work with that are like really in tune with communities
Hmm.
and like how to like kind of like operate and navigate that like world. But like I'm like the guy that's just hiding behind the curtain, like doing the work. Like I get really nervous when I have to deal with that stuff. So I mean, I think that it is important, and I think that it's definitely a an intelligent way to kind of work, which is like be very open. If I just can point to something, which was when we were working on GORN, when we were doing like the experimental builds and like putting it out there, like open development, the amount of awesome videos that people made, like YouTubers made and stuff, you know, again, we could watch those videos and see exactly where people would be like, oh, what do we do here? I don't know how to open this door. We could learn from that stuff. So, like, I honestly, and I think Ruan will agree with me that if Gorn didn't have like the open development that it did, I don't think it would have been as successful as it is. And I'm taking nothing away from anybody that worked on it, Ruan or anybody. It's just I was there. I saw us. We all saw and learned from that experience. So yeah, man, from my perspective, it's only a benefit, but at the same time, you've got to be cautious. How to balance that, I'm no expert, man. I really don't know. I just make things pretty or try my best.
Fair enough. Okay, so we'll wind down now, but I know we can't really talk about what you're working on next. But what's getting you excited lately? And is there anything in the tech side of visual arts? Is there anything getting you amped up?
Damn, I've been playing around with like a lot of like bizarre tech lately. I don't know if you've checked out Sculptress at all. I haven't done anything like with it, like, but I've been playing around with it. It's really fun. So you can basically like take like a exported cached mesh and then sculpt on it. So it's like ZBrush, but like
Mm-hmm.
you can have movement. And then I've
Oh,
been playing around. Yeah, it's super cool. So you can like export your character and then you can like paint, like ZBrush animate onto the guy and then re-export it. You should check it out.
yeah.
Sculptress.
You can have like bubbling skin or like all like so you can deform it mid frame, like on frames of animation, rather than needing to just have the model and the animation.
Yeah. So like say I have like a character, right? And then say he's just like moving his arm. I can then like make that move, export it, and then like ZBrush is a sculpting tool. I saw
Mm-hmm.
you played in that a while ago.
Yeah, you taught me
Um,
that.
did I?
Yes.
Well, when you move your arm like this, like you can literally you can set a frame here, like sculpt, and then move here, and then sculpt a bunch. So you can actually like have that deformation moving. So you can add an extra layer. So you can start doing really crazy things with deformation.
Interesting.
So anyway, I've been playing around with that because like I think you can do some pretty cool stuff with that in VR eventually. Like some kind of crazy weapons or, having some kind of force applied to a character. Because you can do all kinds of weird things like with deformation boxes and lattices and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've been playing around with that and EdSynth. I don't know if you know about EdSynth at all.
No.
Oh, dude, check this out. It's super cool. It's this crazy new technology. Well, I think it's been around for a little while. And what it is basically you can take like you can film yourself right now, right? Like doing something, and then you can just take one frame, say the beginning frame, and then like paint over that frame, like do some kind of like maybe some Photoshop effects, but like still have you, but like in some kind of stylized way. And then you basically like hit simulate, and it AI like
Right.
matches it to your face. It's so cool. So you can take a still, make it look like a painting, and then apply that effect to the whole movement thing, and it works really good.
Yeah, I think I've seen some YouTube videos that have been the result of this stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. Have you seen there's a Netflix film, Klaus?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if they use that. It's a similar technique. So it's like they basically have like the 3D quite plain, and then they basically draw the still and apply that. That's how they get that kind of like 2D effect on top of it.
Interesting.
Anyway, I've been playing around with that, but we're also pushing quite hard on like an early access deadline for a new game at Free Lives.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Has there been anything interesting happening on the? One of the things that's fascinating about GORN is the sort of like I'll call it programmatic animation.
Oh god. Yeah.
Has anything really shifted, or any new developments on that front?
No, I mean not too much. Ron and I, we kind of have been playing around a little bit with like trying to like figure out how to like use custom animations, but then apply the physics on top. So like that way we can get like a little bit more strategic moves. So imagine like being able to fight a Gorn guy, but like you're not sure if he's going to throw like an uppercut or maybe like like backwards elbow or something. So trying to basically like create custom animations, but then apply them to the same physics that it has now to some degree, so that like it still feels extremely fluid.
Right.
It just makes the combat potentially a little bit more exciting.
Right.
But that not too much is really made on that right now.
Puts more in the toolbox, but still allows for the physics-based reactions. That's a pretty nice. That's a pretty nice set.
It'd be cool to basically get them a little bit more like aggressive.
As always. Oh man.
Yeah.
God. I think I want to play GORN again.
You should.
It's so good. All right. Well, is there anywhere people you want to send people? Should they look at anything, try anything before we?
Oh damn!
Other than play GORN for sure.
Yeah, just play GORN.
Just play GORN.
And watch out for the next Free Lives games coming out. There should be an announcement pretty soon. I think June, somewhere in June.
Right on. Well, dude, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye, everybody, and Kirui Mespeki.
You rock, dude. Thanks for this, man. Cheers. And I hope it wasn't too incoherent.
Don't worry about it. See you guys.
Cool, man.